Voluntary muscle, involuntary muscle, skeletal muscle, striated muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, tendon.
Probably ligament should probably be on there too,
Yeah.
just so you can see the difference between the two. All right, so here's our little introduction. Stand up right where you are and hold a book in one hand or something heavy in one hand, whatever happens to be nearby, unless it's your little sister. Slowly lift it up while at the same time feeling the muscles in your arm with your other hand. Try to feel what's happening in these muscles. Are they changing their size at all? Are they changing their shape at all? What are you noticing happening? Okay, do that a couple of times and then you can put it down. So think about, what do you already know about muscles? So stop for a minute and try to brainstorm, what are some things that you already know about your muscles? What's their job? What are they connected to? Do you know anything about them from your reading, if you've already read a little bit about them, or maybe you studied them before in elementary school?
So here are just a couple of little interesting muscle facts. So by the age of 70, your cardiac muscle will have contracted about 2.5 billion times. What do you think your cardiac muscle is?
What do you think, you guys?
So think cardio, right? If you're doing cardiac exercise, you're getting your heart beating, so it's your heart. So by the age of 70, your heart has beat about 2.5 billion times. Wow. There are over 650 muscles in the body, and they make up about half your body weight. So think about how much you weigh. Half of that is just muscle.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And the longest muscle in your body is the sartorius muscle. Where do you think that is?
Should we tell them or should we make them wait? They can look it up if they're curious, and then we can tell them in class.
Yeah, I think we should tell them.
So remind us to tell you where the sartorius muscle is, and if you feel like looking it up, go for it. So here's your types of muscles that we have. Muscles are divided into two main groups. Involuntary muscles. These are muscles that are not under our conscious control, so they work without us ever thinking about them. Thank goodness. So these can be smooth, or they can be cardiac muscles. So smooth muscles are found in our internal organs and our blood vessels, and they don't tire easily. Thank goodness, because boy, what if you're digesting your food and your smooth muscles working, but it says, oh, I'm tired, I don't feel like working anymore, and it stops digesting your food. That wouldn't be a very good idea. And it wouldn't be a very good idea for your cardiac muscle to get tired either. It just keeps on going like the little Energizer bunny, boom, boom, boom. So it's found in your heart. So it's involuntary, but it's not striated. Now, we haven't talked about what striated means yet, and it basically means striped, and you'll see what we mean by that when we look at the structure of the muscles. Muscles can also be voluntary. Voluntary muscles are ones that we move when we think about moving them. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem like we're thinking about moving them because you just decide to do something and you're really like think about like when you're playing soccer or playing basketball or dancing. You're not thinking about every muscle moving and what it's doing. Some of that is sort of, you just kind of do it. But these are still under our conscious control. If you think about stopping that movement, you can stop that movement. So these are skeletal muscles that are attached to our skeletons by tendons. Now, we learned about ligaments in our last section on the skeletal system. So ligaments connect bone to bone. Tendons connect muscle to bone. So that's a distinction that is important to think about. And these move by our choice.
So this is what those muscles look like. So remember Ms. Tebow said that smooth muscle is the only one that's not striated. And she said that striation, that just kind of means striped. So you can actually see it here in the cardiac and the skeletal muscle. We end up with those kind of stripes. And that's just part of the structure of the muscle cell. Cardiac muscle cell has this cool branching kind of structure to it. So it's not just one long cell, it kind of branches out. And skeletal muscle cells are super cool because they actually have multiple nuclei.
Isn't that neat? So you think about a skeletal muscle, a muscle cell runs from the beginning of that muscle to the end of that muscle, so where it connects from one bone to another bone. So you can see in this picture, The muscle goes from the shoulder down to the elbow, and one muscle cell is going to be the entire length of that muscle. And if you think about what the nucleus does, it has to get information from the nucleus, from the DNA, into the rest of the cell. So if there was just one nucleus, it really wouldn't be able to do that very efficiently. So there's a lot of nuclei that are kind of sharing that work. So this picture just kind of, the next few pictures actually zoom in and look at what these muscles actually look like up close. So you can see that they're divided into little bundles and then fibers. You don't need to know the names of these. We just wanted you to see kind of what this structure is. Okay, this one shows the same thing, and you can see at the bottom there are this green part and the purple part. This is actually where the muscle contracts, and there's some videos that we're going to show you that show an animation of this. And this is just the same thing. Now when you're older and you get into some of the upper level classes, you're going to really learn a lot more details about the Z discs and the H zone and the I band and all that stuff. But right now, all you need to know is that this is kind of what it looks like. The striated ones look like they're striped because of the way it contracts, and you'll understand more about this as we go forward. And that the skeletal muscle is multinucleate. That's kind of a cool thing. And just another picture. If you've ever looked at the structure of meat and how it's sort of stringy, this is kind of what that is. All right, here's some videos that you can watch. So you can pause the podcast for a minute and you can watch some of these videos on your own. And the diagram above shows how those muscles contract.
All right, so ligaments, we did talk about them a little bit in the last section, right? So it's that connective tissue. It just connects one bone to another, right? And then in this section, we're introducing tendons as well. So they're going to connect bone to muscle. But this is a type of connective tissue. So remember back to that first podcast we watched, we learned about the different tissue types. So we had connective, right, that just connects different parts of the body. We had epithelial, which kind of lines everything.
Like skin.
Yep. Muscular, which is going to contract, and then nervous tissue, which sends signals. So this, ligaments and tendons, these are types of connective tissue.
All right, so muscles work by contracting. The only thing that they can do is contract, and they work in pairs. So when one of them contracts, it kind of becomes shorter, and the one that's opposite, in skeletal muscles, the one that's opposite relaxes. So if you feel, we'll do this in class too, but put your hand on top of your biceps. So the biceps is the one that's on the top of your upper arm. And straighten your arm out and see if you can span that whole muscle with your hand. And now slowly bend your elbow. And as you bend your elbow, you can feel that muscle actually getting shorter. Can you feel it? So do it a couple of times and see if you can feel that muscle getting shorter. So as you bend your arm, that biceps is contracting, and the triceps is the muscle on the opposite side of your arm, that's relaxing. When you straighten your arm, your triceps is contracting and your biceps is relaxing. So muscles work in pairs and they can only contract.
Right, so think about what other muscles in your body might work in pairs, right? We talked about the bicep and the tricep in your arm. You can also think about things like the quadricep, which is the front part of your thigh, your upper leg, right? So when that contracts, your leg is going to straighten, right? And your hamstring, which is the back of your leg, is going to relax. And then vice versa, when your hamstring contracts, it pulls on your leg and your leg bends, right? And your quadricep is going to relax. So we call these extensors and flexors. So if something contracts and you're extending your limb, it's an extensor, right? So if you contract your quadricep and you're straightening your leg out, that's an extensor, you're extending your leg. Versus the hamstring, which is called a flexor. When you contract that, you're kind of flexing your leg, you're bending that body part.
All right, so now think about all the body systems that would work with your muscular system. And one way to think of this is think about a really simple movement like a handshake. Now, when you're going to shake somebody's hand, what body systems, what has to happen for that very simple activity to take place. You're going to be looking at the person, so your senses, your nervous system and your senses are going to take in that information. Your muscular system is going to pull that bone and that muscle across so you can reach out for the other person's hand. Your circulatory system is bringing the blood to that area. What's your respiratory system doing, do you think?
You've got to get that oxygen into your body.
Right, because this takes energy to shake somebody's hand, right?
Yeah.
So think about all the body systems that might work with your muscular system, and they all do, really. Think about your digestive system, bringing energy from the food that you eat. The muscles in your digestive system is pushing the food down. Your digestive system, we're going to learn about that pretty soon. So there's a lot involved, lots of complex things involved here. We're gonna in class we're gonna look up some of the names of these muscles. And they're kind of fun. They look like they're super complicated and maybe a little bit intimidating. But when you learn some of these roots, it kind of breaks it down and they make sense. So if you want to really have fun with some of these, you can look these up. Look at this simplified one though. These we do want you to know. So it's just a few. And we'll go over these in class and be ready for Simon Says too with this. So your deltoid, so as we go through this right now, feel with your hand, feel these muscles. Your deltoid, this is the muscle on your shoulder. We'll look up what they mean in class. The biceps brachii, brachii means arm. So these are the biceps in your arm. Pectoralis major, these are your chest muscles. Rectus abdominis, these are your abs, your six-pack in your front of your torso, your stomach. Your quadriceps, this is the top of the upper leg. And then on the back you have your trapezius muscles. These are big wide muscles on your back. Latissimus dorsi, they kind of go around the side and around your lower back. Your deltoid we talked about before, but it kind of wraps around the top of your shoulder and the back of your shoulder. Your triceps brachii, this is opposite that biceps brachii, this is the bottom of your arm. Your gluteus maximus, that's where you sit. And your hamstring in the back of your leg. And this is my favorite, the gastrocnemius, this is your calf muscle. And just another view of the same muscles so you can see them.
So you will have to know these muscles. Like Ms. Tebow said, we will be playing Simon Says. So be ready for that.
All right. So here's a few video clips you can watch to help you understand them, to understand what we've been talking about. And that's it. This is a pretty short one. So.
All right. Thank you for watching.
So bring your notes next class. We'll check those next class. And have a great night. Bye.